Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a question that's been at the very center of cybersecurity, national security, and really the entire tech industry for decades. You've heard the stories, right? This idea that a new, incredibly powerful quantum computer is just around the corner. And when it gets here, it's going to shatter the encryption that protects, well, everything. From your bank account to top secret government files, it's a real high-stakes technological countdown. And for a long time, the answer was a pretty confident yes. The consensus was that this quantum threat was inevitable, all thanks to a brilliant piece of math called Shor's algorithm. But what if that whole story was wrong? A new hypothesis is gaining ground, and it suggests that this belief we've held for so long might be fundamentally flawed. Now, to understand why the story is taking such a sharp turn, we first have to get why everyone was so worried to begin with. And it all boils down to the incredible, at least in theory, power of quantum computers. Okay, so let's break this down. On one side, you've got today's best computers. They get totally bogged down by big numbers. The problem gets exponentially harder for them. But on the other side, you have the promise of a perfect quantum computer. For it, the problem only gets a little harder. This massive speed gap, right here, this is what fueled the whole quantum apocalypse panic. But here's the big what if. What if that ideal machine, the one that's so fast on paper, is actually physically impossible to build for this specific job? Well, that brings us to this new counter-narrative, and it's called the terminal descent hypothesis. It argues that the road to breaking encryption isn't just difficult, it's probably a dead end. The core idea here is something called a pincer movement. Just picture it. The problem of quantum factoring is being squeezed from two different directions by the fundamental laws of physics and complexity. And because of that squeeze, the problem becomes practically unsolvable, no matter how many qubits, the basic building blocks of a quantum computer, you manage to string together. So these are the three pillars of that pincer we're going to walk through. First, there's a physical wall that stops the original plan dead in its tracks. Second, there's a nasty trap waiting for anyone who tries a workaround. And third, there's this unexpected arrival that's catching up way faster than anyone imagined. All right, let's get into pillar number one, the precision wall. Now, this isn't about not having enough qubits or enough power. This is about the fundamental inability of our physical world to control them with the kind of insane accuracy that Shor's algorithm absolutely demands. Just look at this number. Really look at it. To break a standard run-of-the-mill encryption key, you need to control the quantum state to a precision of 2 to the minus 2048. That's a decimal point, followed by more than 600 zeros before you even get to a 1. It's an unimaginably small target to hit. And now for a dose of reality. The very best control electronics we can build today, limited by real-world stuff like heat and noise, can only get to a precision of about 10 to the minus 9. The gap between what the math needs and what physics allows isn't just big, it's absolutely astronomical. It's a chasm. And this analogy just nails it. Our best hardware is the wrench. It's powerful, for sure, but it's fundamentally clumsy. And the target is a pitch so impossibly fine that you just can't hit it with the tool you've got. The laws of physics themselves are basically saying, nope, not gonna happen. Now you might be thinking, well, what about error correction? And that's where this gets really interesting. Standard quantum error correction was designed to fix random one-off mistakes, a bit that flips here, a phase that flips there. But this precision problem, it creates continuous systematic errors. They don't cancel each other out, they build on each other, accumulating like a giant wave until they completely wash away the answer you're looking for. So with that giant precision wall standing in the way, a lot of the industry pivoted. They said, okay, let's reframe this problem. Instead of a pure math problem, let's treat it like an optimization problem. The only catch? This clever pivot led them straight into a whole new kind of trap. So by changing their approach, they completely changed the nature of the problem. It became what's known as a spin glass. And a great way to think of this is to picture a massive, rugged mountain range with millions and millions of little valleys. Only one of those valleys is the right answer. Trying to find that single correct spot in this vast, messy landscape, well, that's an NP-hard problem. And that means even a quantum computer loses its magic speed up. And if that wasn't bad enough, this new landscape is littered with something called barren plateaus. See, to find the right answer, an algorithm needs a slope to follow. It needs to know which way is down. But on a barren plateau, that slope just vanishes. The ground becomes almost perfectly flat, giving the algorithm no clues, no direction on where to go next. Yeah, this analogy really drives it home. The quantum algorithm is essentially blindfolded and dropped in the middle of a vast, featureless desert. With no slope to guide it, it has no idea which way to turn to find the answer. It is completely and utterly lost. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most surprising piece of this whole pincer movement: the quiet comeback of the very computers that quantum was supposed to make obsolete. Classical supercomputers are getting shockingly good at faking it, at simulating quantum systems. I mean, this is just the most dramatic proof you could ask for. Back in 2019, Google made a huge splash, claiming its Sycamore chip had achieved quantum supremacy. They said it did a task that would take a supercomputer 10,000 years. Okay, fast forward just a few years. Now, using smarter algorithms, classical systems can do that exact same task in a matter of minutes. The goalposts haven't just moved, they've been lapped. So, what's happening here? Well, it all boils down to this fantastic paradox. To get a quantum computer to actually work in our messy, noisy, real world, you have to simplify things. You have to approximate. But it turns out, the moment you simplify it enough to actually run the program, you've also made it simple enough for a classical computer to perfectly simulate it. There's no magic middle ground. So, if the original plan hits a physical wall and the backup plan is a complexity trap, and classical computers are catching up at lightning speed anyway, what does this all mean for the future of quantum computing? So let's just recap those 3 pillars of the terminal descent hypothesis one more time. First, the precision floor. You just can't build it accurately enough. Second, the heuristic trap. The workarounds don't work efficiently. And third, the simulation singularity. Good old classical computers are catching up and erasing the advantage. Now, this does not mean quantum computing is a failure, not at all. It just means its real purpose might be something completely different. Instead of a universal codebreaker, its future is probably as a highly specialized tool for science, simulating new molecules to create drugs, or designing brand new materials, problems where getting a perfect answer isn't the point. And you can already see this shift happening. This isn't just a theory. Look at where the big players are putting their money and their effort. They're already de-emphasizing encryption breaking and are focusing intensely on just mitigating errors and finding these specific, niche problems to solve. Their actions speak louder than words. They see the writing on the wall. So, we end with a new question. It seems the quantum apocalypse for our data isn't coming, shielded by the fundamental laws of physics and complexity. So the real question, and maybe the more exciting one, has become, if it's not a weapon for breaking the digital world, what kind of amazing tool will it become for building it?